Anyway, allow me to begin by telling you how very grateful and honored I am to be with you today, and having Reverend Kathy allow me to do the service. It truly does touches my heart, not so much about me, but I'm so very grateful for this spiritual community, each and every one of you, and each and every one of you in our Facebook world that's live streaming into us each and every week. I tell you with all honesty, my heart overflows with joy and gratitude just for the opportunity to be with you. I light up. And I hope some of that light shines through me to you today. I know it's not my light. Well, just about 2 weeks and 2 days ago, we celebrated Christmas Eve. If some of you may likely remember, making room in the inn. That is, making room in our consciousness, right, for the birth of a new and emerging awareness of the Christ. And then last Sunday, for those of you who remember, we had our shredding ceremony, where we released all that no longer serves us. Today, in this sequencing, is our 2022 annual White Stone ceremony. And I just absolutely love this service and this particular ceremony. In this particular ceremony, during meditation, we will take a white stone, typically put in the palm of our hands, and silently go within to connect with Spirit and allow Spirit to reveal to us a name, or I would prefer to say a word, that can be taken on for us and claimed by us as an intention for the upcoming year. So today is a reminder that we seek a fuller expression of our divine nature. This happens for me each and every year. And so before I go any further, I just want to make sure that everybody has a white stone in their hands, and if not, we'll ask the ushers to please come along and provide that. And for those of you in our Facebook world, if you don't happen to have a white stone handy, you can use a white stone from your garden or yard, or even perhaps a white paper, something to write down what will become a word or name given to you today. I had never even heard of a white stone service before I came to Unity. Actually, that was before my wife, Trina, and I came to Unity. That was Sunday, January 2003. And I've not missed an annual White Stone service since, in all those years. So today is my 20th consecutive White Stone service. And it's not so important about the year, but rather as an evidence or a sign of the significance and the power that I have benefited from by experiencing the White Stone service. So these particular stones, thank you, Kathleen, and Fred, for giving me a white stone. These particular stones were quarried in Hebron, Israel. No, that's not Hebron, Kentucky. Hebron, Israel, about 20 miles south of Jerusalem, right? And then sent to us. And so the story of the white stone and the reason for the white stone comes from that area, that region of the world. The metaphysical definition of Hebron is an association of ideas, or more specifically, concentration. And Israel, in its highest significance, signifies spiritual consciousness. So the idea comes for us to concentrate on spiritual consciousness today. Historically, during the time of the Roman Empire, when a prisoner or slave was released from prison, they were given a white stone. And they were to carry that stone with them at all times, wherever they went. Everybody knew that if they had a white stone with them, not only were they free, but they had a clean slate. They were able to begin anew. And also not normally told, but I found interesting is, also carrying the stone gave them all the benefits of being a Roman citizen. And that meant the Roman army protected them. So this was no small thing. And I ask similarly, and I trust and know that each of us will take this as no small thing today. So, symbolically, the stone you hold in your hand, I hold in mine, now represents your freedom, a new identity, a safe passage to the next move on your spiritual journey. Just as a side mention, notable changes in names in the Bible. A few come to mind. There's quite a number. First, God changed Abram's name, which means high father, not in high father, but high father, to Abraham, which meant father of a multitude, or father of nations. And at the same time, God changed Abraham's wife's name from Sarai, meaning my princess, to Sarah, meaning mother of nations. And these name changes took place at a time when God reaffirmed to Abraham to give him a son, specifically through Sarah, and told him to name his son Isaac, meaning laughter. I guess God's got a sense of humor as is. And the second one is God changed Saul's name, as many of you know, to Paul. Saul, the name, means personal will in its personal dominance. And at the time, Saul was persecuting Christians. And he was, in his own personal will, wanting to dominate, to have control. And then on the road to Damascus, he was struck blind through lightning. And then his name was given Paul. And interestingly, Paul means little, restrained, made small. And its character converted from that of the violent and oppressive individual to the devout and obedient champion of Christ. And finally, in a brief way, Jesus changed Simon's name, meaning God has heard, to Peter, meaning rock, as a way of signifying the special role he would play in the church moving forward. I invite you to just take a moment. Let's just have your white stone with you and just feel the texture of your white stone. If you'd like, close your eyes or not. It comes better to me when I close my eyes to reduce the distraction. And just feel the texture and describe that feeling. A few of the words that came to me are solid, strong as in not easily broken, special, safe, comforting, grounding, foundational, new, etc. Let your power of your imagination to describe the texture of your white stone. Find a connection, a relationship with you beyond the mental capacity. Now, I mentioned that I had not even heard of the White Stone service until my wife Trina and I attended a Unity Church service for our very first time. It was Sunday, January 5th, 2003. And that particular White Stone service for me was absolutely transformational. Given the power of the White Stone ceremony, as I say, I've not missed any of them for all the years that follows. And here, in fact, are my 19 white stones that I continue to retain with me, right? More than the stones themselves, it's, for me, the significance and the overcoming that I was able to receive each and every year on times of challenge. So I remember vividly in my very first White Stone service, I was not in a very good place, to say the least. I was, minimizing it, but I was certainly devastated due to a tragedy in my life in which my daughter was taken away from me when she was just 13 months old. And I had gone through all of the rational steps of going through all the courts, both here and there, receiving all were in my favor. Through the Supreme Court in Austria, through the United States here, none of it was enforced. So in many ways, I felt that I testified before Congress no less than 15 times. And I met with President Bush and Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, Secretary of State Colin Powell. None of it made a difference. So finally I reached the time, after those 8 years or so, during that White Stone meditation, a question arose. What am I going to ask Spirit? Many times I don't even know what I'm going to ask or what I'm looking for lunch. But during that particular service, perhaps it's newness, perhaps by divine appointment, I asked the simple question, Lord, dear God, sweet Spirit, what's missing? What is absolutely missing? That the law, morality, ethics, all of it doesn't matter. For I still hadn't seen my daughter. And the word that surfaced very quietly from within, I know it was a still small voice within, was the word faith. And at first I didn't realize what the word meant. But then I realized that I had put my faith in all these other arenas. And it was time for me to put my faith in God. Stay in my own lane and put my faith in God. And so I studied Unity teachings on faith all throughout that year. I really have been amazed at what Spirit has revealed during these precious White Stone meditations for me. As I say, faith, love, change are among many of the names that have been revealed to me. So there's no doubt, as you may have heard Kathy say last week, that the White Stone service or ceremony is one of my absolute favorite services in Unity. So what do I love about the White Stone ceremony? And perhaps you may as well. I alluded to the first, I'll say, and that each and every one of those services have been inspirational, transformational, and life-changing. Each and every one of them. And you have that opportunity today as well. So all of those new names or words really have built a strong foundation for my spiritual growth. And the second reason I think why I love the white stone so much is that with my new name and stone, I free myself to live more fully a path to greater awareness, experiences, and insights to who I truly am, to who I truly am, to who and what I truly am, and that is love. And each and every one of you are love. And to release the mental and emotional baggage that goes with not achieving that. So I also want to point out that it's so coincidental, thank you, Kay, that the word for today was guidance. And it specifically referred to divine wisdom. For that, unequivocally, is one of the reasons why I love the Unity Whitestone service. It is a time to connect and reconnect with the divine wisdom within me. And then I create a unique spiritual path. So the Whitestone ceremony, as many of you know, is a service based on the book of Revelation, which deals with hidden meanings and symbology. It can feel a little daunting to read. The particular chapter in Revelation is chapter 2, verse 17. It has to do with renewal and revitalization. It contains the code for what you can be. The book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 17 says, "Let anyone who has an ear listen to what the Spirit is saying to the churches. To everyone who conquers, I will give the hidden manna, and I will give a white stone. And on that white stone is written a new name that no one knows except the one who receives it." So let's take a look at this verse metaphysically to gain a better understanding of what that even means in the 21st century. Ear. Ear means not our physical ears, but rather represents receptivity of our mind. Again, it's not the ear of our physicality, but the ear of our soul, which is within each of us. This is the ear that hears that still, small voice within as it whispers to us. So we develop this listening quality by getting out of our head, moving to our heart, and connecting through prayer, meditation, and contemplation in the silence. Spirit is God as the moving force in the universe. And churches means thought centers. So the first part of the verse is telling us, to those who are receptive, listen to what God is saying to our thoughts. The spiritualized will carry to our thoughts the word of truth and builds them up into a knowledge of their divinity by training them in spiritual thinking. Training them in spiritual thinking. We do that here at Unity through denials and affirmations. To everyone who conquers, I will give some of the hidden manna. Conquers. What's conquers? It's not an outer battle. It's an inner overcoming of those struggles, our fears. It's an overcoming of that which is holding us back. Right? The fears that we live with and that we create and accept. Unity's teachings on overcoming highlight an inner realization of victory over those error thoughts. They happen. They're not mine. They're not my thoughts. But the thoughts occur. And we can choose. Great power within unity, as Reverend Kathy has mentioned on many occasions. We can choose whether to hold those thoughts and words or let them go. Remember, principle number 3 in unity, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. So a negative thought arises, we can choose to let it go. Another consideration for this year, the application. So conquer, it underscores that unity is not only about aspiration, affirmations, and prosperity. See, the spiritual journey is really front-loaded with overcoming the challenges, the difficulties in our life, the application of denials and healing, and rising above sense consciousness. Second, one of unity's best explanations for evil in the world is that we have forgotten who we are. And we forgot the power of thought. And third, a practical formula for overcoming is holding the presence of God in conscious mind until the truth penetrates into our subconsciousness. Hidden manna, our first promise. Hidden manna means spiritual food. The Word of God. When we attain mastery over the 5 senses, then we attain and are sustained by the inner spiritual food, which is understanding of truth. White stone is the second promise. The white stone is a consciousness that has been purified. There's no coincidence that the stone is white. We typically, in all unity, traditionally say the words, white stone. That's because the significance goes also on, not just the stone, but it's white. One to signify the purity on which we place our foundation and way of living. So every name in the Scriptures has an inner meaning. And on the white stone is written a new name that no one knows. No one knows. Boy, that was just powerful, Adam. No one knows except for the one who receives it. Isn't that interesting? It's almost as if we create that word in coordination and in alignment with our spirit nature within. That's why nobody else knows it. And by the way, when we get our word, it's not necessarily to be used as spreading your word around, as if getting on Facebook or the other social media and start broadcasting what our name is. It's for you. It's for you to focus on. Now again, as I said, the language is old-fashioned, but the content is eternal. I'll give you a brief, very brief context by which this particular passage in Revelation comes from. In this particular passage, a message was sent, actually a message that contained a request to the angels of the churches of Pergamum, an ancient Greek city. Christ is the instructor, and he or she sends a message, a request to the angels of the churches. Angels mean the messenger, messenger of higher consciousness. To the churches mean thought centers, and Pergamum refers to intellectual consciousness. And so the message fundamentally states that intellectual consciousness is no doubt important, for without it, we may never get to know spiritual awareness. However, when intellectual consciousness impedes our spiritual awareness and growth, then it truly is of no significance and of no value. So the important lesson here is that intellect is servant, right, of spiritual awareness, not a replacement for it. So today, we raise our awareness to spiritual awareness. And I hope I'm not drawing too much on this, but I don't think I can overemphasize the significance of our focus of attention today. I want to remember this, I want you to remember this as well, that it's a new name, or I'd like to say now, word, for you in spiritual consciousness. Sometimes you think you know what the word's going to be. Oh, I had plenty of times. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I was sure hoping it would be something. I had plenty in mind. Hey, wouldn't this be a good name to have? Sounds good. I'm walking around, I got this name. Like that, right? I got this name too. Huh. Now, absolutely, each and every time that I allow my ego to get in the way and predetermine or pre-select and have a desire for a specific word, that's never the word. Spirit shows up and says, oh no, you're getting this word. Okay? Oh, my second year of the Whitestone service, I wanted a whole lot of other words. They were really exciting, like high consciousness or whatever it might be. Spiritual master, guru. No, I didn't get that. You know what I got? I got forgiveness. I didn't want forgiveness. There was no way I was wanting forgiveness. As a matter of fact, I immediately start bargaining with God. God, I'll tell you what, let's make a deal. I'll give you back forgiveness and you can give me 2. Matter of fact, you give me 3. Just don't let me keep forgiveness. And then I hear the voice that says, this is your word. Boy, how I didn't realize at the time how powerful and significant the word forgiveness was for me. You need to check how we are on time right now. Let me see. I may, much to everyone's surprise, skip a few things. I mean, it's all good stuff, I think, but of course I put it together. But anyway, let me see. All right, here's what I want to do. I'm going to be a little vulnerable here, which I don't typically like to do. You know, my Enneagram type 1 wants to be right and perfect, get it right, all that kind of stuff, be good. But I'm going to be a little vulnerable here. And what I'm going to do here is skip to what I call my core message. And that is, having said all of that, the one thing I want you to take away from my talk today is If nothing else, what's in a name? Food, strength, a new way. What? What's he talking about? Food. Bear with me. What's in a name? Food, strength, a new way. Could be others as well. Let's take a look at food. When I get a word from Spirit, when I get put on my white stone, when I get a word from Spirit, what does it do? Each and every one of them nourish me. They nourish me. It's like food. It's like manna from heaven. What's food? Why do we eat it? To get nourishment and energy. That's what occurs for me in the new name and the experience of the White Stone service. You see, some people and many people have made this a very literal, like what's in a name. It's just a word. It's whatever word comes forth, not a name. It's a name in quotation. Truly, I think the old language referred to name as in a name that we use on our ID card or on our label. But in this case, I have come to believe it is a word, perhaps a quality, a characteristic, a trait that nourishes us. So it became difficult because of the old habit, my embedded habit of automatically going to, oh, gee, am I going to be called Bill this year? What sense does that make? Although I did get Will one year, but it meant spiritual will for me. So I just ask you to realize that it's a stretch, but it could be a verb, it could be a noun, it could be an adverb, it could be a foreign word, it could be a piece of food, it could be a color, it absolutely could be anything. Think about what people go through to name their child. It's really not an intellectual process. It's really not. They may think about things like, well, I like my grandfather's name, so there's a little bit of that in there, but it's much deeper than that. It's relational. So what does that name mean? It's nourishment. When I think about my grandfather's name, I feel nourished. I feel enriched. Gives me toughness of spirit. So let me move on to the other one quickly. Sometimes I get a word from Whitestone. It gives me this toughness of spirit, this stamina, endurance, and resiliency in my character. That's like strength. Physical strength builds mental strength, which builds spiritual strength. And to no coincidence, one year, sure enough, Spirit revealed to me the word strength. And I tell you, in reflection, it was absolutely timely, right in perfect time for me to receive that word. Because it came during the time of the extended time that my daughter had already been gone. Taken at 13 months old, now still maybe 13, 14 years old, and I hadn't seen her in all that time. And I had to engage strength. The patience. And I'm not looking at any accolades for me personally. We all have it. It's like I look around to each and every one of you, and you demonstrate strength in your daily lives. So I applaud you for that. So again, it's not a name in the sense of an ID name, but it's a word that signifies or has some meaning for you, upon which you can move forward. And then sometimes I get a word from the white star, and it gives me a vision for my purpose in life. It's like a new way. It's anew. It's not a name. It's my North Star. Metaphorically, it's my personal mission statement. It's a word that describes my destination that I can depend upon, and it describes a fixed life as the world changes around me. So a new way is about practical application of the word. How? Disciplining thoughts and giving up judgment allows us to experience, I have found, our higher possible consciousness. When we focus on our own spiritual expansion, we are in the highest possible consciousness to create our own experience, to love others, and thereby change the world. And finally, it's a word that comes to us intuitively from the imagination and wisdom and guidance within us. Thanks again, Kay, for the word. So I'll leave this with you so I no longer delay their time, and I'll be glad to talk about this further with anyone to help clarify or just discuss. Call me at any time. I'm here to serve in any way I can. So in the meantime, I'll just end my talk by saying, what's in a name? Food, strength, and a new way. Namaste.